Noah.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Agriculture and Water Resources. Will the Deputy Prime Minister explain to the House how the government's achievements support the hard-working Australians in the agricultural sector? Is the Minister aware of any threats to the sector's ongoing success?
The Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his question, and he knows more than most about how important it is to have a successful workforce in regional areas and how that workforce is complemented by people from overseas. We never want them to be replaced by people from overseas. And therefore it's very important that as we negotiate for a backpacker tax rate, a backpacker tax that came about by reason of the decisions of the former Treasurer, the Honourable Wayne Swan, and then enforced by the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, we now have the dilemma of trying to make sure that we get through a rate that is both fair for Australian workers and attracts people. Now, it's incredibly important as we're dealing with what we have at this moment. It's this smarmy, derisive, this obstinate approach from the Labor Party that is doing nothing but to divide people up, to divide Australians up. And you're starting to get a line on the Leader of the Opposition. You're getting a clear line on him, on the type and the character of the person. When you look at Chiquita Mushrooms and what happened to the Australian workers there, when you look at Clean Event and you find out what happened to the Australian workers there, when you find out about Senator Kimberley Kitching and how she was brought in across the wishes of so many others, and you start to understand the character of the Leader of the Opposition. You start to understand the character of the Leader of the Opposition when you see what he did to the former Prime Minister Rudd, when you see what he then did to the next Prime Minister Gillard. You start to understand the character of the Leader of the Opposition, the member for Maribyrnong. And you start to understand the character of the Leader of the Opposition, the member for Maribyrnong, when you see what he's doing with the backpacker tax rate. Because who is a person who's worse off after their rate goes through in the paddock, either picking cherries, picking mangoes, working behind the bar? Who is worse off? Well, it's the Australian worker. It's the Australian worker who's been let down by the former representative of the Australian Workers' Union. And who's the second person? Well, it's the people from the Pacific Islands. We can understand why we'd look after them. They're doing it tough, and we need to help them. And who is the Leader of the Opposition helping? Well, it's the person from Paris. It's the person from Paris. And why does he do that? Because of political effect, because in his swami lubricious way, he says, this scores a political point, this scores a political point, this is worth it. And he sits there with that Cheshire grin. He's grinning across the table because he does it. And the member for Hunter, he's smiling. Oh, you're so clever. You're so clever with the damage you've done. You're so clever with the damage you've done. You don't care about Australian workers. You never have cared about Australian workers. You are so inside the Beltway. That is all this about. You're a disgrace in what this has happened today. When you should have shown some ticker, turn around. When you should have shown some ticker, when you should get that grin off your face. It's not funny at all. It's the whole point of what you're doing to the Australian horticultural industry is exactly what you did to the Australian live cattle industry. You're an absolute disgrace.
Just before I call